Apologies in advance. I am still very much under the weather. Couldn't sleep, so decided to talk about Peacemaker, which I did watch the first 3 episodes. A lot of times my habit is to watch an episode and review the single episode. I think that's somewhat beneficial for a series, and in this case for HBO Max they only introduced the first 3. There will be more, but I think they're going to be 1 episode each week, that kind of thing, which is probably a better idea. But I'm going to go ahead and do the 3 episodes because I don't really like it. I'm kind of surprised. I had a suspicion it would be bad, but I thought there would be some. I just thought it would be more. And it's obviously a comedy. It's not meant to be a serious superhero take or anything like that. And it's very similar to the Suicide Squad. And this does come directly after it. They use Suicide Squad as like a previously to set up the story and everything. It's sort of it does have some certain CW templates in it, which is always a mistake. But it's just a more expensive CW show, and the performers are actually much better, even though they're given terrible scenarios, dialogue, and characters in some respects. So, of course, you have the blonde girl who's the real badass who has to do everything. That was obvious from the trailer. It's pretty much the case with the story. The only 2 superheroes you get are, well, you get 3 actually, eventually. I don't know what they're doing with him. But anyway, you, of course, Peacemaker, who, just because he's a deranged idiot is why he's in trouble and was sent to prison. The Suicide Squad would have actual superheroes as members of the team from time to time. They weren't as serious violators as the villains were, but there would be some deal why they were there and that sort of thing. But that's not the case with him, apparently. But I don't know. But this isn't Peacemaker from the comics. It's just no. But Peacemaker from the comics was rather bland. He was the Captain America type and that sort of thing, and did secret missions for the government and all that. His main claim to fame later on is that he was the basic jumping off point for Alan Moore creating the comedian for The Watchmen. And so that's basically what you get there. Judo Master shows up here for just a comedy bit. I mean, his abilities are very impressive. He takes out the whole team, basically. But his costume is all completely wrong, and I don't know why. It's basically a superhero costume. It's all green, not red and yellow. I don't know why they decided not to do that. I don't know. I mean, there's Peacemaker standing there pretty much in the Peacemaker outfit, but not that guy. So, and then a Vigilante. I thought they'd go with the cowboy version, but no, they went with the updated version from, well, he had a series in the 80s, I think, and then I think there was another one in the 90s and stuff. But anyway, they looks pretty much like the character. He isn't the character, but he looks like the character. And a lot of this, when it comes especially between Peacemaker overall and Vigilante, is that this is an element similar to an earlier one I talked about, where the comics and the other media, television and film, is this thing of chasing Peter Parker. They all want their own Peter Parker, and they've been doing that for a very long time. So there's a lot of different examples of it from different, and some heroes who were actually much older than traditionally Peter Parker is portrayed, and then suddenly, oh well, they're teenagers now, or something like that. You know, they would do stupid things like that, desperately trying to get to that, thinking that would make a buck. Here, they're not chasing Peter Parker; they're chasing Deadpool, because the Deadpool films, or sort of the average guy didn't know who Deadpool was, but they liked those films. It didn't wow me as much, but I can see the deal of it, and it seemed like the type of thing that James Gunn would have fit in very well with that. And so here comes the Suicide Squad. His Suicide Squad film is better than the original. It's of course hadn't seen the Air cut, so there's that, but still it's better than the original. it's has more fun to it, and it seems a bit more cohesive. Whereas here, and this was true in the film too, there were some jokes that just fell flat. They weren't any good. And here, there's a lot of that. And or they'll hit on a joke that's sort of funny and then drag it out to, I don't know, make up for time, to save costs, so you can just do dialogue instead of any actual action scenes or anything requiring expensive special effects or stunts and what have you. But it drags the show down. So, yeah. So some of the elements of it sort of works into the credibility of this, and they do suspect that this is all they're being screwed over by Amanda Waller, and that this is a decoy mission when she's actually pursuing a more serious mission. And that probably could be, a revelation at it. In the first episode, she does make an appearance. She zooms in. The girl that people thought, wow, here's the woke character. Well, she is a lesbian, but she fits in with the team. So they do that. They show the lesbian couple, and as soon as you meet her girlfriend and wife. I can't remember if they're married or not. I think they are, yeah. So it's like, well, why isn't she the secret agent? That's the girlfriend. Look, she's in shape and everything. But the reason she's there is she needed the work. She's having a little trouble in her life or what have you, financial problems. So she turned to Mom to get her this job. And who's her mom? It's Amanda Waller. So they, and it makes some sense. And the rest of them aren't aware of this, and they're kind of like, why is she here, and this sort of thing, because she's not fit for this job. And I don't mean physically that too, but also just doesn't have the experience of being hitmen and espionage and all that stuff. You do have the tech guy who's very much in keeping with CW characters and all of that, except they're more cruel towards him in the humor. Where in CW you'd have to have a talk and your fifis and all that sort of stuff. They don't do that, so it's not quite there as far as that. But it's just like the template appears to be there, and it's annoying. So the first episode is not very good. It falls flat in a lot of ways. At the end, it kind of steps up, but that's when the big, the enemy attacks, and there's a big naked fight between Peacemaker and this woman he picks up who's not what she seems, and all of that. But way too much music. If it's left to the background, but they actually have him playing it. He likes 80s metal music, of course he does. And so they got to have him dance in his underwear and all that. It just goes on way too long. The only saving grace is the eagle, a CGI eagle. And maybe it's a prop here and there, but the eagle ends up saving the show. Well, it doesn't save it. It's not enough. The eagle can only do so much, But that actually works. John Cena in the role is fine, and it's one of those things where I say you could have had something here, So things get a little better in the second episode, but not by much. Now they introduce his father, played by Robert Patrick, and I don't know if they are insinuating that he was the original Peacemaker, maybe, and he's a complete racist. And of course, there's an Alex Jones stab there. It's this Alex Jones-like character is appearing on his TV. And I'm sorry, DC, but Marvel did it better with J. Jonah Jameson, so it beat you to that punch too. But he has this room in his rather normal house that, I don't know, I guess it's like the TARDIS in there. It just opens up and unfolds, and it's this ginormous space-aged warehouse of weapons and whatnot. And he's the one who's developed the helmet that Peacemaker wears, and the helmet, turns out, can do a lot of stuff that we weren't aware of yet. He still hasn't gotten his jetpack, though he makes a nod to it and requests it, and they say no, but you can see where in several instances he could have used that. The second episode is basically all about him escaping from the hotel room where he fought this creature, the butterflies that they're after, they call them. And they won't say why or what that's about, because that's all top secret and everything. But in that aspect, yeah, it's something that's, hey, we're going to use this location and we're going on the cheap or something and just do stunts. But it more or less works. So that's kind of a positive. But in the end, it's because, what's her name? Damn it, what's her? I keep wanting to say Brocart. What's her name? The hot blonde chick who does everything. She does everything. She saves him, and they get out, and he escapes. And then the eagle saves the whole scene with a joke. It doesn't talk, I mean, but you know. That's basically that episode. But there's other things where they had the moment where this Asian woman is a detective and she's investigating all of this, and they blame Peacemaker's father about this. He's unaware of this, but they sort of frame him for it, and so he gets arrested for whatever happened there. And so there's this epithets between the two of them, and then they silly it up in a conversation they probably wouldn't have. It's this kind of thing. I get they're trying to do Whedon jokes mixed with Tarantino dialogue, and it fails all around. Besides, the Whedon jokes are so tired. So it's things like that, and they go too long with it, but it's to make up time, I guess. So dear old dad goes to prison. Well, it turns out he's familiar with prison and all the white nationalists there, or the Aryan Nation or whatever, which is really where you'd find them, because that's basically all the Aryan Nation is a prison gang that runs meth. And that's about it. And they keep taking their own products, so they're dying out, you know. But anyway, so he's what they call the White Dragon, so I guess there's going to be a problem. But locking him up didn't do him any real harm there, because he's all connected and whatnot. So I guess there'll be some, conflict between him and the detective and all that. So they have targets. This politician, turns out he's one of the butterflies, and it turns out his whole family is the butterflies, and so they tell Peacemaker to take him out. And his saying was he would kill every man, woman, and child to achieve peace if necessary. Well, when it came down to doing it, he couldn't do it. So then Vigilante steps in, who just followed them there, so tells them they're not all that great. And he wipes them all out. But of course, don't worry. Spoilers, yes, they are the butterflies. Now, what are the butterflies? Well, it appears that these are human beings who got possessed by a creature that looks like a butterfly. And so you see one at the end of episode 3, so you get that. And so some of the elements, the plot of it kind of steps up here and to where there's something, but I just expected far better. And it's odd because I'd always thought that James Gunn would have done better with Suicide Squad and with here Peacemaker than he would have done with Guardians of the Galaxy. But so far, even though I'm not a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, it didn't wow me as much as others. He did a better job there. So I don't know. He's supposed to be the funny guy. It's not that funny. So I guess there's potential. It's only 3 episodes, but well, I don't know. There's some DC Comics nods here and there. Apparently Batmite really exists. I mean, they're getting ready to revamp the whole DCEU, so I guess who can you picture more? Batmite hanging around Ben Affleck's Batman, or Batmite hanging around Michael Keaton's Batman? So apparently that's the deal. They'll set it up with the Burton movies are part of the DCEU, and Michael Keaton had been Batman. He's now retired. And if they can cough up the money, then I guess Henry Cavill will still be Superman of the DCEU, or they'll just scrap him in favor of Supergirl, and I don't think that's going to work at all. But as just for an individual show for Peacemaker, they got to step up the game here, because it's just not landing very well. There's funny stuff in it. There is, here and there. It's just not enough to seal the deal. So, anywho, there you go. 3 episodes of Peacemaker. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes.
is. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.